Smack It Off the Podcast is coming soon. Why would you assume something different? Smack It Off the Podcast is preparing now to tell you why your team is so horrendous. Oh dear, what a shame. Always the same game. Loser at all things. No luck that it brings. Fails at every try. Can't help but sigh. Clumsy and dim-wit. Can't seem to quit. Trips over own feet. Defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret. You're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend. Maybe luck will bend. Smack It Off the Podcast is coming soon. Why would you assume something different? Smack It Off the Podcast is preparing now to tell you why your team is so horrendous. Oh dear, what a shame. Always the same game. Loser at all things. No luck that it brings. Fails at every try. Can't help but sigh. Clumsy and dim-wit. Can't seem to quit. Trips over own feet. Defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret. You're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend. Maybe luck will bend. Trips over own feet. Defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret. You're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend. Maybe luck will bend. Trips over own feet. Defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret. You're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend. Maybe luck will bend. Trips over own feet. Defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret. You're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend. Maybe luck will bend. Trips over own feet. Defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret. You're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend. Maybe luck will bend. Smack It Off the Podcast is coming soon. Why would you assume something different? Smack It Off the Podcast is preparing now to tell you why your team is so horrendous. Oh dear, what a shame. Always the same game. Loser at all things. No luck that it brings. Fails at every try. Can't help but sigh. Clumsy and dim-wit. Can't seem to quit. Trips over own feet. Defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul, can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Smack It Off the Podcast is coming soon. Why would you assume something different? Smack It Off the Podcast is preparing now to tell you why your team is so horrendous. Oh dear, what a shame. Always the same game. Loser at all things. No luck that it brings. Fails at every try. Can't help but sigh. Clumsy and dim-wit. Can't seem to quit. Trips over on feet. Defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Trips over own feet, defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Trips over own feet, defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Trips over own feet, defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Trips over own feet, defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Smack It Off the Podcast is coming soon. Why would you assume something different? Smack It Off the Podcast is preparing now to tell you why your team is so horrendous. Oh dear, what a shame. Always the same game. Loser at all things. No luck that it brings. Fails at every try. Can't help but sigh. Clumsy and dim-wit. Can't seem to quit. Trips over on feet. Defeat is so sweet. Pathetic poor soul can't reach any goal. But hey, don't you fret, you're not beaten yet. Keep on trying, friend, maybe luck will bend. Smack It Off the Podcast is coming soon. Why would you assume something different? Smack It Off the Podcast is preparing now to tell you why your team is so horrendous. Oh dear, what a shame. Always the same game. Loser at all things. No luck that it brings. Fails at every try. Can't help but sigh. Clumsy and dim-wit. Can't seem to quit.
Dr. Balls is a presentation of Smacking Off the Podcast.
Dr. Balls in the house. What's going on? The doctor knows who's going down. Dr. Balls will know. Dr. Balls, Dr. Balls, Dr. Balls, Dr. Balls in the house. What's going on? The doctor knows who's going down. Dr. Balls will know.
What's up, guys?
All right. What's up, Doug? Welcome back to Smacking Off the Podcast.
Thank you. You're not talking to me, are you?
I'm talking to the people all over the world that love our show in the far-flung corners of the universe on AFRTS and all over the world, service to the soldiers everywhere. They can pick us up right here on social media or YouTube and watch something from back home and talk about college basketball.
What's going on, Nikki?
Hello.
Hello.
So let me just be the first to go ahead and throw this out there. I did my brackets earlier today.
Damn.
I've got Florida winning it all.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah. I mean that's I think that's a pretty good pick because
It wasn't my plan. It wasn't my plan. I just basically went seed by seed and picked the games, and then every time that Florida came up against somebody, I couldn't see the other team winning.
yeah. And plus Auburn backed into the tournament. They lost their last four, including getting blown out by Alabama, which you had to have enjoyed, Doug.
What? So what did I enjoy? Say that again.
Alabama beating Auburn.
Yeah, you talking about in the SEC tournament?
No, I'm talking about the regular season right before the NCAA tournament.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, they didn't play in that. Yeah, you talking about with the basket at the buzzer?
Yeah.
Oh, that was fucking sweet. And I didn't even watch the whole game. I came in right before it went into overtime, and yeah, I didn't have a good feeling, but that basket at the buzzer gave me a good feeling, Bob.
Oh, that was a good feeling. It's special when that goes on, ain't it?
Yeah. Alabama, I've got Alabama making it to the Sweet 16, I believe, and then going home.
Y'all hear me?
No.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
What about you,
God
Ed?
damn
Are
it,
you happy
Ed!
with-
Ed, I said I didn't hear you. Why did you take Bob's word for it and just totally ignore me?
He's more honest than you.
All right.
But what I was saying, Auburn should not have been the number one overall seed.
Because
I mean,
they backed into the tournament.
I can dig that, Ed.
It could have been
I mean,
Florida.
you know how I love Auburn, but
No, I'm
Well-
glad they have it.
yeah, it does put a target on their back.
I mean, they
It
could
does.
have
It's
given
the-
it to Duke winning the ACC championship without Flag and with him being set to play. But for me, it was Florida or Duke as the number one overall, not Auburn. Now you lose 3 of your last 4. Yeah, you can stay in number one seed, but you can't be number one overall. That's ridiculous.
I've
I'm
got
good with it.
Florida beating Duke in the final.
I'm good with it. It's like it's the curse of number one, and I'm watching it right now with Tennessee baseball. They just took the number one spot, and they are tied with Eastern Tennessee State University in the 10th inning. Like when they got number one in basketball, Florida went in and took them down.
But
It's that curse.
that's a regional, right?
No, it's a just midweek game.
Oh,
That's Jen Chavez's fault. She's been running her mouth this week, and
Oh, they are the saltiest fans.
bad juju,
Oh.
man. She stirred up some bad juju.
Mm.
Ain't that what you call it?
Yep.
Is that the scientific term for it?
That's
Yup.
what I got.
I just call it karma.
Karma's undefeated, Nikki. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
And hats off to the Gators, Nikki. I mean, just you were steady with them all year long, and Coach Golden's done a fantastic job. And I agree with everybody that's spoke before me about this. Right this moment, to me, Florida's the best team in the country, and they've got a path where they can advance. If they don't fall off, they've got as good as chance as anybody, maybe more. Don't you think?
I do. I still am in that not the jinx. I don't want to jinx it because this team is special. The depth, our top, like we sat at the end of that Tennessee game with
When you say special, you mean Superman special, not
Yes,
Special
not-
Olympics special.
well,
right?
we're special ed too.
Gary's
but
kid.
That's different. That's off the court, you know.
That's a whole other league, isn't it?
It is. And so we can set our big three, but we put three more in their place that are just as talented. This team is just, but of course, in basketball, it's been a while since I've seen Florida like this. So it's hard
Yeah.
for me to still mentally grasp what's going on.
But when they have proved that they can be dominant before, so there's no reason they can't do
Yeah.
it now. And I think the attitude of them, right, and the way they're playing together, and people fulfilling all their roles, it being sharp and precise, is how they were able to win the SEC tournament, and people being in the right position at the right times so that they can unleash their talent. And he substituted well. They're 9 deep, Nikki, 9
Yep.
deep.
As I say, we set our big three and we put just three more in their place that are just as talented. There is not a time. Well, against Alabama, we actually put in freshmen and 2 seniors that had never actually played. We put them in the game and they actually scored a few baskets, so that was pretty awesome. But I don't know. But it was a
Now-
good feeling. It was the best when you sat there and you watched Tennessee fans run their mouth. They had already won the game. Okay. Then they lose. And they can't handle that they lost. So then it was, oh, well, we beat you in baseball. It was more important for us to win the baseball games than it was to win an SEC championship. I'm like,
Yeah, but the
okay.
SEC championship, winning it over Auburn, right, was over Alabama after they lost to Auburn was a huge deal, and I think it helped their seeding because at one time I thought that they might be the 3rd or 4th overall seed, but they did get where they need to be seeding wise, where the pressure isn't as hard on them as it is on Duke, and they played well in their games. And I'm looking at the bracket, and they got a decent path to advance to the Final Four. And of course, we have some other people join us here in a bit, but I don't mind to talk about this. Let's just look at it. Here's Florida, so Norfolk State, I think they'll take them out. The winner of Oklahoma, which of course, we want to pick on these games, but just for the sake of conversation, I think that Florida could beat either one of them. Memphis and Colorado State. Memphis will probably advance. I think in the 3rd round, Florida could take them out. Then you got Maryland as a good team. I think they're dangerous, but I still believe Florida's better than them. And then on the other side of the bracket, you got Missouri and St. John's. I think St. John's is the real threat for Florida to get to the Final Four because St. John's is
They
the only
don't
team.
score. They don't shoot it well enough. Florida would have to have an off night.
No,
Yeah,
I
Florida have to have that night.
when you got a coach, their coach is experienced here. Okay. This is what he plays for. Like, this is what they're my team that makes me nervous. I've watched them this season. I know that we can beat them, but it's that experience coming into
Yeah, but
this.
and they got a good roster. Like you said, he's a great coach and a proven tournament coach.
Mhm.
And their scheme is to break up rhythm and stuff the passing lanes and steal the ball and create turnovers. And that's why I think that if they make it to the regional final, that it's going to be a hell of a game. And because they're one of the few teams coached well enough to play with Florida, who's obviously coached well. And there's some now Auburn has some as the one overall seed. My problem has a problem possibly right in the second round. Obviously, we want to pick a lot of games and stuff and get to them. We want to talk about Michigan, Ed. We want to talk about Maryland a little more because we know that they're a good team. But
I was very surprised that Maryland won a rock fight against Wisconsin. I mean,
against Michigan, yeah, it was a hell of a game.
Because that game was a Wisconsin style. Yeah, it was a Wisconsin style game. You know, Michigan's first round opponent has 30 wins. Now, not the greatest conference, but 30 wins is 30 wins. So I'm thinking they can play a little.
Yeah, that'll be a tough game. The 5-12 matchup is historically ripe with upsets.
What's going on, Jason?
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey, Jason.
Welcome. And guys, here we have
Maryland's
Jason.
got Grand Canyon. They can play a little too.
Yes, and but I think it's interesting going back to Auburn that as the number one overall seed, you'd think they'd have the easiest path, but it's interesting that Louisville could possibly beat Creighton, and if they do, that means Auburn and Louisville are playing at Rupp Arena, 70 miles from Louisville.
Ooh.
And yeah, so I think
that's no picnic for Auburn. They could be bounced.
yeah. I think they got house wrecked by the committee. I think if you're the number one overall seed, you probably shouldn't send them to play possibly Louisville or Rupp Arena, you know. But you know, Louisville. I don't think that Louisville's better than Auburn. But since Auburn's back in the tournament with losses in 3 of the last 4 games, I don't know if you're going to get that together or you're going to turn that momentum around or get that love and feeling. What do you think, Jason?
On Auburn, and I've gotten a little bit of hate for this because, all I've been talking to Lisa, and especially around here in the South, is the SEC got 4 teams. SEC. It's been a dominant conference, and I feel like there's maybe a little bit of overconfidence that, well, they should be able to run through and get the national championship, but as I have learned, when the Big East had, 11 teams or whatever it was in 2009, where they had 3 number 1 seeds, and I even bought into because the Big East played very well that season. They were the best conference in college basketball. But when the tournament came on and the lights got brighter and the stage got bigger, it was a little bit different. And also, who wound up with the national championship? Who played in the national championship game? Not one team from the Big East. It was Michigan State and North Carolina that played for it. So that's why I look at this and I'm like, okay, let's pump the brakes on this a little bit. Because if you wanted to give me a confidence meter, or the confidence meter for the SEC teams running through the tournament, the only one I would put at a 10 right now is the Florida Gators, the way that they're playing right now. Auburn in the last 5 games have shown a lot of vulnerabilities to me that I think that have been exposed and I think can get exposed, especially the way, not about, about hurled up there for a second, trying to hold in a cough, but my bad. But I feel, and especially the way the committee did them, and I agree, it's kind of wild when you're the number 1 overall seed that you may have been selected to the region of death. And that's kind of how it feels with Auburn. Like with Alabama, now with Grant Nelson, we don't know how the injury is going to affect him. I don't feel that confident in Alabama. I see them maybe going to the Sweet 16, and I'm a little 50-50 on if they make it to the Elite 8.
But I've got Bama going down in the Sweet 16.
And yeah, it's wild to think because, like, even when I was filling out my bracket, which by the way is the first time I filled out one in 3 years, but I gave back, I gave in once again, but it just it was just head scratching for me. Now, no disrespect to St. Mary's because that's who I had picked to go into the round of 32 to face them off, but like I had to take a double take. I was like, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to pick St. Mary's over Alabama, which St. Mary's is a capable basketball team, but it's just still kind of head scratching. Like, do I really want to do this? And there was a little bit of creeping in my mind that said, it's possible.
Yeah,
I'll see it.
I had the same moment today.
Okay, so I'm not alone. I'm not alone at all.
No, I've got Bama going down to Wisconsin in the Sweet 16.
Now that I can see that because for some Wisconsin is just kind of they caught a little bit of a spark. Now it kind of got cooled down a little bit with the Big Ten championship game against Michigan, which by the way was a fantastic game. And the thing about it, I look at Michigan State, and you're sitting here and you look at their resume. If you just look at it blindly, the resume just doesn't look that impressive compared to some of the other top teams. But there is something about Tom Izzo in the NCAA tournament where it just bam, it comes on. And they have a potential lottery pick in Jace Richardson. So it could be one of those things is where, maybe we've been sleeping on Michigan State and they might be able to make a deep run. And yes, I may have put them in my Final Four.
So yeah, let me just go ahead and make it clear. I've got Michigan State knocking off Auburn in the Elite Eight.
Yep. That's where I'm at.
A lot of people have Michigan State going to their Final Four, including the ESPN analysts. There was 3 of them that had them. And
how dare they go against Greg Sankey? How dare
I did one.
Traitors.
But I 100% can see them making a run.
I think Auburn and Michigan State are a lot alike in the style that they play, and that they really everything revolves around the center position or the big man as far as the entry to start their offense. And it'd be a real interesting matchup if Auburn makes it that far. They will have been through a hell of a gauntlet. And as far as Michigan State's part of the bracket, Iowa State has a key player out that's I think it's like a 5th-year center. It's a pretty hell of a player, and Iowa State has a player out. So I'm looking at Michigan State's side of the bracket, and for me, the only real speed bump would probably be Marquette. So as far as that goes,
I'm looking for Marquette, Bob.
Are you
Bob,
looking-
did you fill your bracket out yet, Bob?
No, I tried to, and I had
God
some kind
damn
of
it, Bob.
Yeah, but I know what I want though. If I did fill my bracket out, I know what I want and who I'd pick. Right. So if I was going to run through his team if we wanted to run through his team by team, I know who I want in every game. I mean, for example, Auburn also may have to get through Texas A&M again, and Auburn and Texas A&M had ugly games, right? And Texas A&M is a very physical team, and I feel they're not very well disciplined, and they make some mistakes. Mental mistakes, but I just don't really believe Auburn's mind is right, guys. I believe there's opportunities for them to lose to Louisville, eventually Texas A&M. If Michigan gets through Texas A&M, they might give them a shot. Here's why. So he basically said on TV that they had everything locked in already. He said that at the conference media event supporting the SEC tournament. So they basically, everybody was talking about, we've already got it locked up. We've already got it locked up. Well, they've been smacked in the face since then. Me personally, I hate to lose, right? I don't care where my team is at in the district or the regional, right? I want to be hot going in, and that's a problem. Can Bruce Pearl reclaim it? I think that was a tactical error on his part, guys.
Well, Dr. Balls, to add into when you mentioned about Texas A&M and Auburn in that game earlier this week, interesting stat. Buzz Williams it's either a 6-2 or 6-3 record against Bruce Pearl in his career. So that's kind of an interesting something that stood out to me in regards to that. And I also got to see some of the undisciplined play that you talked about. I actually got to see some of it live and in person at the SEC tournament in Nashville, which, by the way, best $44 I ever spent, because I got the game winner for Ole Miss Arkansas, and then I got the double overtime of Texas and Texas A&M. And I know my wife was pissed because I was supposed to be home an hour before, but I was like, game's not over yet. Can't come home yet. Can't do it. Just can't do it yet.
Did you send her Beth as a song? I'll give her the link to on YouTube to Beth. You heard the Kiss song, Beth?
Oh yeah. I didn't think about that till right now. I was like, where were you last week on that, man? Where were you?
Did they at least buy her a shirt or something?
But
so back to that discipline play. So what did you notice about it, Jason?
Well, the one thing that I will say at the beginning of that game, it was I don't know if you guys noticed this when you were watching this, but it seemed like the refs were really, really giving him a very long leash at the beginning of it. That was a very, it was physical battle, knocking each other around, in the boards, crashing the glass. But then, like, as the game went on, it's like they were like, the refs were almost like, it almost kind of reminded me of the Duke or the Virginia Auburn game back in 2019, where it was kind of called really, really loose. And then there was that 3-point foul that gave Virginia the win at the end. And you're kind of like, oh, come on, really? It almost kind of like, they felt like, okay, maybe we gave them a little bit loose of a leash, and we had to they tried to, rein control back into it, which is why you saw so many fouls. So many fouls in that game. And by the way, I'll say this, Texas, Trey Johnson, potential NBA draft lottery pick. Seeing him on TV is one thing. Seeing him live is another. Like, it is almost like night and day. It's just like, wow. Like, that kid, just a freshman, that kid can do stuff.
Yeah, he pops. I mean, he's got it. He's got it. And I think that he could be a star in the NBA. I think he's not just somebody that can go to the league and have a career. I think he could be a star depending on where he goes and what coaching he gets. The NBA may be changing in the future due to the viewership is down. Nobody's liking the zero defense and nothing but threes.
Or maybe you don't. Or maybe it's a team that or a franchise that just has very, very poor executive management. You might want to look at that and say, how many ping pong balls do they got? Oh wait, I can get some more NIL from Texas. Maybe it would be a consideration. I mean, I think at this point he can't do anything other than maybe a possible devastating injury that could hurt his draft stock at this point. No. But he's got the best of both. I mean, especially in this day and age, you have the best of both worlds. You can go back to an institution like Texas, get a little more NIL money for another year, or, depending on where your NBA draft stock, which I think they probably have him like in the lower part of the lottery or maybe just outside of it, which couldn't be bad. I mean, you wouldn't be on a terrible team, but I mean, the difference between, pick number 3 and pick number 12 is, well, quite a few dollars.
If he went to the Spurs alongside Wembanyama, it could get ugly. So that's very interesting. That's what I've heard. Is a lot of people think it's a possibility that he could go to the Spurs, but we'll see what happens. It's probably wishful thinking. And I like him a lot as a player. Like you said, he's explosive. There really isn't any single person that can guard him unless their position is perfect. He's a good looking player. I kept thinking back over the last 5 years over anybody as a freshman that's had as much pop as he does.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a good player, and if he stays at Texas, will be hella competitive next year, guys. I mean,
definitely. Yeah, Rodney Terry would be very, very happy with that. He would. But I know that I jumped in when you guys were talking about maybe the potential upsets. I know a popular one, at least in our in our office that might be consideration would be a possible UC San Diego over Michigan as maybe a possibility. I know one of our experts was thinking about maybe New Mexico could be one of those surprise teams that makes a run going through Marquette, maybe getting through Michigan. But I'm torn on this one, guys, and I want you to either talk me off the ledge, help me out, or whatever. But I have been torn on Memphis. I've been torn on Memphis all season, where we saw earlier in the year that they could run with teams like UConn, and then they can turn around and lose to teams like Wichita State, who, by the way, are playing in the NIT tonight. And they're matched up with Colorado State, and that seems to be the very popular upset. Like, it almost seems to me like Memphis could be that just potential bracket buster for everybody in that region. If they play like they did against UConn, I wouldn't say that they could beat Maryland or Florida, or really for more. I think they could beat Maryland. Florida, they might give them a tough run if that team shows up. But then to turn around, a team that shows up like they did against Wichita State and lost in overtime, they could be bounced from the first round. So that could be I see that as probably like the biggest bracket buster, maybe along with Drake in Missouri is a popular one too that some people are picking.
Yeah. Now back to Memphis. I don't know that. I think there's individual players on Memphis that's were more highly recruited than ones that are on Florida. But I think Florida as a team has definitely more depth and more overall talent. But there's 2 or 3 guys on Memphis that are elite players. Penny's a hell of a recruiter, and if they rise to the occasion, then it's going to be exciting. Just like you said against UConn, the way they ran, I like their exciting style. The thing about it is, now these running teams like St. John's are both hurt and helped, and same thing with Memphis. They're both hurt and helped by the way the NCAA tournament works for TV. So for TV, you've got extra breaks in the game, TV breaks that you don't have in a regular season game. And so what would happen? So in the regular season, let's say you were a team like St. John's and you were pressing all game long, and then you got halfway through the second half and the other team was gassed, and you ground them down to a nub and you just take over. Well, now they get more breaks to keep their players from getting gassed, and it's more about staying out of foul trouble. And I think Memphis's problem in advancing to the Final Four is, especially if they meet Florida, is that they don't have enough depth to survive any foul trouble.
And you mentioned about the recruits at Memphis, which I believe is one of those young players that's had some talk about possible NBA one and done potential. Which with the NBA now, with all the international players that come in, that get a lot more notoriety, that are really more NBA ready because of the way that the European leagues are kind of organized, to where it's more like pro, so they're more organized from that standpoint. But Florida, I look back at their 2024, 2025 commits, and it was really a lot of 4 and 3 stars, and it really just got me to thinking over the last couple of seasons, because we know Mike White, who is now the head coach of Georgia, who left Florida to go to Georgia, which Georgia's in the in the NCAA tournament, and they have a freshman phenom in Asa Newell. But it's more of I look at just the way that Todd Golden has been able to just get Florida in unison, to be able to play, and even navigating the injuries. I look at the potential in the ceiling. The ceiling is very high for Todd Golden to really, really put a stranglehold. Because I look at Bruce Pearl now. It's like, okay, he's gotten to a Final Four, but he hasn't been able to close it out. And he's only gotten there once. Rick Barnes, the only Final Four that he went to, I was 20 years old when he did that. And I'm 42 now. That was the last time that he went. He couldn't even get there with Kevin Durant.
Yeah, he could have.
Grant.
And G.J. Augustine, another All-American.
But even for Nate Oates, for the way that he's transformed Alabama to the style that they play, that's made it very, very exciting and very attention getting. And of course, he has been able to get the guys from talent. Which, by the way, shout out to close to my hometown, Muscle Shoals, Alabama, native Mark Sears. He's not quite there yet, but I don't know how high the ceiling is for him. For Todd Golden, if he is able to eventually get up to in that recruiting game with what Duke has been, the Dukes and the UConns have been able to do, and start landing those big name recruits that are coming out, Todd Golden has the potential to have Florida in the SEC in a stranglehold for maybe even the next decade.
Well, he's doing it without those big name recruits.
Right. And if he gets
that's what's insane. But he's also, a lot of our players are not from here. I mean, we have one from Austria. We have, Mini Luca on our board. He's looking outside of the bubble.
Well,
Yeah.
well, guys,
So
let's welcome Jeremy Smith. Jeremy, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. Thank you very much.
All right, let's go to a commercial, and gives Jeremy time to ponder what we've been talking about.
Smacking Off the podcast can use your support. How can you support us? You can buy awesome products using our affiliate links. These are products you want, products you need, in other words, stuff you will likely buy anyway. Go to smackology.42web.io and use our affiliate links at the top of the page. eBay, Fiverr, CBD for Life, A Premium Auto Parts, Clear VPN, Haley AI, Fans Edge, and Pinpause. We appreciate your support today, as well as in the future.
Smacking Off merch is available at our spread shop. Find awesome hoodies and t-shirts in all colors. Want it in your team color? Hit us up and tell us what you want, and we'll send you the web address for your custom shirt within one day. Go to smackology1.myspreadshop.com for awesome Smacking Off stuff.
It's Dr. Balls, can you feel that sound? In the house, got the party going down. Where you at? Better step on the scene. We drop a rhyme sharp like a damn machine. On the mic, I'm the remedy, no need for a doubt. You feeling low? Let me show you where we at. Get the vibe. I'm the one you can trust. When Dr. Balls drops, you can't help but thrust. On the mic, I'm the remedy, no need for a doubt. You feeling low? Let me show you where we at. Get the vibe. I'm the one you can trust. When Dr. Balls drops. Dr. Balls in the house. Where the fuck you at?
All right, everybody, welcome back to Smacking Off the podcast. So, Jeremy, since you joined us, I'd like to know if there's anything that particularly sticks out to you about the tournament that you'd like to talk about.
Well, anytime you have the tournament, there's always going to be some controversy. There's always going to be people saying, this team deserves this team doesn't deserve that. And a couple of things I'm noticing, with North Carolina, and I don't know how the committee comes up with these exactly with the net ratings, but if you go by the net, they would say that North Carolina deserves it over West Virginia, Indiana. Not sure I agree with that, but that's kind of where we are. And this is not good. This is not the first time. This is not going to be the last time where there's going to be controversy over a team getting in. So, I think because North Carolina is going to be taken to the extreme a little because the branding of the program, who they are, a lot of people upset because they don't think that that they deserve to be in there. But it's not the end of the world. I think people need to calm down a little bit on that. Just my personal opinion on that one. But
who that got left out was going to win the whole thing anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and look, it sucks for these teams like Indiana and West Virginia. But when you're on the bubble, your bubble's going to get burst sometimes. And whatever conclusion the committee came to, they decided to go with North Carolina and West Virginia, Indiana. They didn't separate themselves greatly from North Carolina. It wasn't a sure thing. So,
Indiana had a real chance to win at Oregon late in the year. If they had won that game, they're in.
I think so.
But I think my thing with the controversy, a lot of people are mad, is the athletic director for UNC is on the board that does the picking. That's where people are getting kind of.
And that is an issue. Especially, I've seen a lot of different articles on this, and the reports are anywhere from, since North Carolina made the tournament, the range has been anywhere from a $68,000 to a $104,000 bonus that he got because North Carolina made the tournament. Mm-hmm. That's a problem anyway. Now, whether he was a great influence in the decision or not, because supposedly he was not in the room, but those optics just look bad. And
I don't think it matters if he's in the room or not. Those board members, if there's that sliver of a chance of UNC getting in, those other board members are going to vote them in because he's on the board.
I think that's too.
But my local news, I'm sorry, guys. My local news comes out of West Virginia, comes out of Huntington, Charleston, West Virginia. And they said tonight on the local news that the state legislature somehow was going to put some kind of resolution out to condemn the NCAA for the West Virginia not getting in the tournament. I found that interesting.
And just what the hell is that going to do?
Governor
damn the NCAA, goddammit.
Yeah, that's pretty
Jeremy,
much it.
Jeremy, I'm interested.
Sure.
How far do you got Alabama going?
You may think me a little crazy, and I may change this between now and then, but I talked about this in a video I posted in my group, Southern Sports Focus, today. I think the two number 2 seeds actually have an easier path to the Final Four than the 2 number 1s do. The committee did Auburn no favors with their bracket. You have Michigan State, the Big Ten champion. You have Michigan, the tournament champion. You have Texas A&M, who they have to face in the Sweet 16, that beat Auburn earlier in the season. The Tigers, especially the way they've been playing the past few weeks, it's going to be tough for them to make the Final Four.
Yeah, I've got Mississippi State taking Auburn down.
Well, Mississippi State plays Duke in the second round if they go. But Texas A&M would beat them in the Sweet 16. Auburn would face the winner of Louisville and Creighton in the second round, which Creighton could be a tough out too. So Auburn does not have an easy path to the Final Four.
And if Louisville wins, Jeremy, then that means that Louisville gets to play Auburn at Rupp Arena, 70 miles from Louisville.
Yeah, so it's not a great situation in any case for the overall number 1 seed. For Florida, they could possibly have to face the defending 2-time champion in the second round if UConn wins. Memphis is a tough out. Maryland, that Maryland-Memphis game is going to be really interesting. 2 really good teams there. And then you have St. John's and Rick Pitino. None of those matchups are particularly something that the Gators should be excited about having to do. Now, I will say, spoiler alert, I do have the Gators winning the national championship, so I do think that they will go all the way, but it's not going to be an easy road.
Now, Jeremy, who do you have them playing in the championship?
And here's where y'all might laugh at me a little bit, but I haven't beating Alabama. I think that Alabama has some very favorable matchups in their draw. There's a couple of teams that could give them issues. I don't think Vandy would give them much of a problem in the second round, but St. Mary's is interesting because they're a team that they don't allow a lot of transition buckets. They're good against the fast break, and we know Alabama loves to play fast, so that could be a problem. Wisconsin could be a tough out, but Duke, they're all gonna their fortunes are gonna go on how effective Cooper Flagg is. I know they beat Louisville without him and North Carolina without him, but neither one of those teams are that impressive to me.
But he's not 100%.
Yeah, if he's not 100%, I actually have them losing to Arizona in the Sweet 16. Because I think the Wildcats can make a decent run in March. So I actually have Florida defeating Alabama in the national championship game. I actually have 3 teams. Call me a homer, but I have 3 teams in the SEC in the Final Four, and
you damn
one
homer.
of them is not Auburn.
You got Florida.
You got that Big East
Yeah.
fever that I got back in 2000.
Just like a fucking Alabama fan, right? No Auburn, three SEC teams.
Fuck Auburn.
Well,
Fuck Auburn.
I have Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, and Michigan State as my Final Four.
The one thing that I will say, Jeremy brought up about Arizona, I do agree. I think that the Big 12 has been sneakily good. Like nobody's talking about the Big 12 because Kansas has been down, and also your two other staples are now playing in the SEC. I think they've been kind of forgotten about. But Houston, Arizona, BYU is even good because they now have a coach in Kevin Young that's coming in and kind of putting like an NBA style kind of program into it because he served as an assistant for so long. So I think that it's good. Now, the thing on Cooper Flagg, though, even if he is not 100%, he's still somewhat effective because when I looked at his averages for the season, like he's guaranteed at least 15 to 20 points per game. So when he is on the court, and that's a big thing because we saw how North Carolina and Duke was very, very close in the ACC championship game with Louisville. At one point, it was getting close. They eventually ran away. Cooper Flagg on that court is going to make a big difference. And I will even say this, and some of you may say that this is a hot take, but this is the best Duke team that I have probably seen in about 10 years. And that was when they won the national championship back in 2015. And who was on that team? It was John Shire. So John Shire has kind of brought back a little bit of that pizzazz, that aura that Coach K has had in the heyday, where it seemed like it was coming down a little bit. It seems like he's been bringing that back. And it also doesn't help when you have about 3 or 4 5-star recruits on your roster as well.
I mean,
Duke's
that's
a good
about
basketball team
seamless
without.
transition as could have been expected when Kay retired.
Yeah, I mean, Kay was pretty much the greatest. I mean, I hate to admit that as a Kentucky fan, but really it's about the program, even though we've had some of the greatest individual coaches of all time. But it's really about the program at UK and who can manage that. Whereas Coach K basically built the program at Duke, even though they had some minor success in the 50s and 70s, and they were nothing before him. That's why I was reticent to add Duke to the blue blood status. Now, obviously, they've earned that since Coach K came in, but they were the latest newcomers to the blue blood status. It's all about Coach K, and he's built a stable program, and they picked the right guy to helmet in Coach Shire. And recruiting, like you say, is on the level that Duke ought to recruit. Historically, Duke usually dominates recruiting, and I hate Duke. And actually, I've got Houston coming out. Oh yeah, I mean, really, they're the most insidious team in college basketball. They're the bad guys, right?
That's why
they always
man.
And they always have been the bad guys. And they don't have the same, and they have a fan base based being on the bad guys. So because of the bad guys, that's what their fan base is. There's people that identify with that. So you might support a Duke at, even though you're not from that part of North Carolina. I mean, there's basically 3 teams within 40 miles of each other in the ACC, right? So you have to have a national brand at Duke to require to. What's up, Jason?
Oh, I'm guilty. I have a Duke hat. I'm guilty.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's gangster. They're the gangster. They're the guy that stomped Minu Timberlake in the chest.
But also,
you know?
yeah. But also, I'll tell you a quick story of how I became enamored with Duke basketball when I was a child. So my late grandfather on my dad's side, military man, and we all know that Coach K kind of has that military discipline from his days at West Point. So I think that's why my grandpa, when he watched basketball on ESPN every Saturday night, and this was the days when it was the Big East as it truly was as a raw brand, and then you had your ACC, North Carolina, and Duke games on Saturday night. He felt he just had a fascination with Duke and Coach K, and if there was ever a game and they were down at halftime, I would just hear my grandpa say, he was like, don't worry, Coach K is going to threaten one of their firstborn, and they're going to come out there in the second half. And they're going to win this ball game. They did.
Hell yeah! The guys, that makes me think of the greatest moment between coaches that I ever saw in my many years of watching college basketball. And this was the year after that Indiana had went undefeated and won the national championship, and they're playing in the NCAA tournament. I think the Elite Eight, and to go to the Final Four. And Indiana's stomping Kentucky at the half, and they have to walk through the same tunnel. And Bobby Knight smacks Joe B. Hall in the back of his dome walking through there. Well, Joe B. Hall was a very reserved man, right? Very upright kind of person. And he really seen it, but he's really upset. And he went in the rocking room, and he got excited, right? Which is something that Joe B. Hall rarely did. And they came back and crushed a great Indiana team. So you don't want to really poke the bear, but I don't know, Coach Shire, he's got something of that element to him, right? But in this tournament, I think that the whoever's coaching at the highest level right now is probably going to push their team on. That's what makes college basketball different than pro basketball. Yes, there are great stars in college basketball, and we love to watch them, and we hope they stay longer instead of going to the NBA. But really, it's about coaches and who's the most elite coach right now, right? And to me, the most elite coach right now is Coach Golden. And the possibilities of St. John's and Florida meeting up on their side of the bracket, to me, are hot. And what I'm seeing, though, is Florida and Houston in the national championship, because Houston plays elite defense. We haven't mentioned Houston tonight, and I think because of the breaks I was talking about earlier, I don't know if you got in the segment when I was talking about how there's extra TV breaks and so forth. That's going to allow a team like Houston to stay fresh and use their depth to grind away if they meet Duke. If they beat Duke in the on their side of the bracket, the Final Four, right? Which I think is very possible, or wherever they meet at. I really believe Houston can wear Duke down and beat them, right? And Houston's, we haven't talked enough about them. You're talking about the Big 12. Obviously, Iowa State was a great team, even though they've got their top players out for the tournament. So, but Houston looks explosive to me on defense, and I believe that can. They're out to win a championship, but I don't know. Coach Stetson's never won a championship, but now that cheating's legal, guys, I think it's possible.
Yes, I've got Florida knocking off St. John's in the Sweet 16.
Yeah. But I think
12. I like watching Texas Tech. I think they're sneaky.
I like their style, but I think it's dependent on the three, and if they don't hit the three, they don't win. And I think in the NCAA tournament, a lot of these locations they're going to go to, like if you go to the Tropicana Center in down in Tampa, is a location that's been used for a lot of tournament games. Well, hell, it looks like a cave behind it. You have no reference with the backboard, right? It's like playing outside in Florida. There's no hills behind you or nothing. The baskets, the depth perception is hard to do. Even at Rupp Arena, it can be difficult to shoot because of that. And 3-point teams can be affected by that. But they don't feel like, even though I like them, I don't think they're a team of destiny. They might make some noise.
So let me go ahead and get. You may have already said this, Bob, and I may have missed it. How far do you got Kentucky going?
Oh, Kentucky, I think So Kentucky's problem is their depth is hurt. Right, their main point guard, even if he plays, is hurt. And I just don't know their bracket. I think they can beat Tennessee. That winning 6 games.
Yeah, I've got Kentucky beating Tennessee.
Well, they've already done it twice.
Yes, but I don't think they've got enough depth to win 6 games with the shooting team. They're one of those teams. They have to, if they hit the 3 every night and it's a 100-point game, Kentucky can win. But I just don't see them winning 6 games. But if you look on their side,
I've got Purdue taking out Kentucky.
Yeah, that's possible. Purdue could slow Kentucky down and confuse them. I think I think that's it.
Purdue is not playing nearly as well as they were early in the season.
Fuck you, Ed.
If you look at the whole bracket, though, Kentucky could make it to the regional final. And they, if you really look at it, if Kentucky gets hot from 3, they've beat some of these teams already. I don't think Illinois is better than Kentucky. I don't think UCLA is better than Kentucky. I think Tennessee is better than Kentucky on paper, but the style Kentucky plays is tough for them. right? Because Rick Barnes wants to slow it down and control the pace of the game. But it is possible Kentucky could make it to the regional final, or even the even the Final Four and meet Houston. But I don't see them winning 6 games in a row. I think they're probably going to falter to Purdue. Yeah, I can see that. That'd probably be the end for them. But if they
Guys,
get
don't hate me. You know I love you, but I've got Kentucky as one of the big upsets. I've got Troy beating them.
Just
Troy's hard right now.
Who?
The Bama
Troy
fan.
from Alabama.
Yep.
The mighty Troy State. Well, they don't call them Troy State.
No, they call it Troy
They do.
Stadium. Troy University. But yeah,
Yeah,
So you're
I went
picking
back to
Troy to beat
1991 there
you're
for a
picking
second.
Troy to beat Kentucky?
I did.
Yeah, he came on here to piss you off, Bob.
Damn Alabama fan every time.
Well, here's why I think that's not going to happen.
Sure.
Because Coach Pope has to win that game in order to prove his hire at Kentucky. All he's got to do is win one NCAA tournament game, and he has outdid Calipari, right? In Calipari's last 5 years at Kentucky, not what he's doing at Arkansas now. So Kentucky fans were unsatisfied with what happened in the NCAA tournament, and we know that we're a team thrown together from good mid-major players and a couple other decent transfers hastily thrown together with some depth issues and some injuries. And we're realistic. If we make it past the first round, for us, it'll be a success in Coach Pope's first year.
It's all going to come down to how Kentucky comes out, because the last game they did not look good at all. I mean, let's just face it. Alabama beat them pillar to post, and they looked awful.
Because Butler was out. See?
And if they come out sluggish from that, if they cannot put that behind them, they're going to be in trouble, because Troy's a good basketball team.
Now, Troy, Jeremy, I have to ask this question. Given what happened in Kentucky's game last year, does Troy have a Caucasian point guard that can has a very high 3-point percentage?
Well, I'll have to look at that, but I will tell you the story of the tournament, and I say this a little tongue in cheek, but the story of the tournament is the Troy head coach came out today and said that he only recruits players who like Waffle House. Yeah, so
My type of man.
Kentucky may be in trouble then.
that
might
could
be
be
in
the
trouble.
secret of the tournament right there.
Who doesn't like Waffle House?
Kentucky may be scattered, covered in cap by the end of the night. I mean,
And chunked and topped. Give you everything you want, all in one lick, double size. Hell yeah. That would be exciting, though. And we've had some historic upsets in the tournament over the last 5 years, and some of them are practically unmentionable and hateful to me. And that's why Calipari is gone, guys, because Calipari had the best talent in the country and was unable to deliver with them. He was unable to get a team ready for the regular season, or at least the conference season. And by the time the team was ready, it was too late, and then they'd make the mistake to lose. And he didn't show any ability to run any sets that showcased his players, especially in end-of-game situations. So we had to move on from him. And we believe that even one win in the tournament for Kentucky this year is a success for Coach Pope. And then we've got new recruiting coming in, and then we've got our young guys that are coming back. So I'd like to see, but the possibilities does exist if they can stay hot from 3 for 6 games, which I don't think is going to happen, that they could meet in the regional in the Final Four with Houston. But
Well, on
the
that
Wildcats
note,
still
how
they
far
a
do you have
problem a lot of teams
Arkansas
have
going?
is they're
What's that?
they're not good on defense.
Right.
The guard play is decent, but they've had some injuries there. Now, I will say, I don't know about this year, but I think Mark Pope, win or lose this game, was definitely the right hire. And I think that long term, Kentucky's going to be fine. I just think they're, lack of a better term, even though the players are different, I think it still may take this season to get the Calipari stank off of them, and that's still going to linger against Troy, and they're gonna bow out. I think long term they're going to be great. They're going to be fine. They're going to be back up at the top of the SEC in a couple of years.
and speaking of Calipari stank, where we have like the battle of underachievers in a first round matchup between Bill Self and the Kansas Jayhawks, who were at one point number 1 in the season, or number 1 in the AP poll, to where they fell off, and then where Arkansas, where there was a lot of high expectations. You bring in your freshman phenoms that you had over from Kentucky, and then the tall European white guy that comes in. You're expecting a lot of expectations where they kind of fell flat. They did get a couple of wins. Arkansas got one over Michigan, but it fell flat. So now you have Bill Self, an underachieving season, going against Calipari, which could be considered an underachieving season in a potential matchup. That if there was one matchup, if I had to miss the rest of this tournament, if I was forced to miss every tournament game but one, this is the one that I'm going to watch.
I've got Arkansas knocking off Kansas in the opening round.
Yeah,
I think Kansas is just. I think they've kind of quit on Bill Self this year. I don't think this team has really the heart to do anything against Arkansas. I think that Arkansas is still fighting for Calipari. They still have something to prove. I think Kansas has this kind of mindset of we're done. Let's just try to get better next year.
And I kind of feel like also the Alabama transfer that came in from Kansas, Rylan Griffin, I believe that it was.
Yeah.
Like, and we actually had on our 24/7 Sports college basketball show that I help out with. Hunter Dickinson came on for a couple of times just to kind of give his analysis, and we asked about Riley Griffin and how he was, how hard it was to acclimate into the Bill Self culture and the type of offense. And he talked about how he struggled a little bit, and it hasn't really seemed like it has really come together, because I think that if it does, we would probably be having a different conversation about the Kansas Jayhawks. But it's just never come. And I'm not saying that Riley Griffin is the main problem with Kansas. It just seemed like the chemistry was just knocked off a little bit, where he just wasn't able to acclimate. He just wasn't able to gel into it. And I think that it's just threw everything off for the entire season.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And they just didn't have any other guys step up as to be the elite player that you expect from Kansas, even though the team overall played decent defense, but it didn't look inspired to me. And then they had a player last year, Dick, that was a freshman. God knows what happened to him.
Sorry.
Yeah, but he was looking good as a guard. I was excited for his prospects, and you haven't even heard of him. So I just don't see. He did under one and done. Self looks better because he can get players of 4 and 5 star caliber, blue chips, and then he's got that 1 year. If he can get them to gel, he has a chance at the Natty. But now in the NIL system, guys are staying at some schools, as you said earlier, Jason, and they're picking up some NIL in a couple more years, and then there's more transferring. And people are putting elite teams together that way. And so experienced talent and blue chip talent start intermingling. And in the end, I think experience is what's going to win it for a lot of teams. And depth and experience is what you really need to win the tournament.
You are watching Dr. Balls. And why the hell wouldn't you be?
Sorry, I had to throw that in there, guys.
Oh, okay. What I was going to say, isn't the transfer portal just an amazing thing to just kind of observe and watch? Because if you look at Louisville's roster and the improvement that they made with Kenny Payne, God bless him. I'm glad the institution put him out of his misery and put themselves out of their misery, because that just wasn't working out. But they came in, and most of their roster, and especially their starting 5, were incoming transfers. Like with St. John's, Rick Pitino, same thing, incoming transfers. And it's almost like it just worked out. But then when we brought up like Kansas earlier, where an incoming transfer is coming in, and it just kind of throws everything. It just throws everything off. It's been a fascinating thing where everybody talks about, well, college sports has become nothing but free agency, and now you can just buy the best teams. Now, Ohio State was able to do it in football, but you could say that Kansas tried to do it themselves, and it just really hasn't worked out so far. But the transfer portal has been a fascinating thing, because I think what we're learning now more is like you've just kind of got to find like, okay, what's the chemistry? How do these mesh together? Especially when you're in a get it now, win now kind of culture that we're in now. That's the most important thing, because You can't win without team chemistry. If you don't have team chemistry, you don't have anything. And it's just fascinating to see some of these coaches and how they kind of walk that tightrope, because one false slip and it could just change the trajectory of your season astronomically.
I agree with that, Jason. And to you, Jeremy, who do you see as coaches in the tournament who are the kind of coaches that can put a team together quickly, make them gel, and tournament ready that's out there right now?
Well, I mean, the proof is in the pudding on some of them. Patino, for instance. I mean, what he has done at St. John's is just, I mean, nothing short of amazing. And he's done this not necessarily through the portal, but each time, but he's done this everywhere he has gone. We've all seen the graphic numerous times on the various sports shows of, the years it took for him to turn around Kentucky and all these other places. And it's been a
wasn't he at Iona before now?
Yeah, he was at Iona before St. John's, and he made the tournament a couple of times with them. Patino's at the top of that list. I think that Tom Izzo is a guy who could. I mean, a lot of these veteran coaches have dealt with so many different personalities, so many different players, so many different styles over the years. I think these are the guys that could really turn around a program quickly via the portal, because that experience matters. I think even like Nate Oates at Alabama has gotten some good guys from the portal. I think it's a little bit trickier with him because he's very married to that style, the frantic offense, the high volume threes. You either go to the basket or you shoot a three, and you have to have more of a specific type of player for that. But he's got some good talent. Mark Sears is one of those guys. Arguably the most accomplished Alabama player of all time came from Ohio, the Ohio Bobcats. So he's had some success through the portal. Holloway from Auburn has had a good year with them. So I think Rick Barnes at Tennessee has had some good guys from the portal. But you're looking at these experienced guys that have gone through all these personalities, has found a way to mesh them together over the years. I think these are the guys that are really kind of the portal masters.
And Bruce Pearl sorry about that, but to Bruce Pearl, you got to give him credit for pulling Broon out of Moorhead State here in Eastern Kentucky, about 40 miles west of me. So he's just a solid player. So that's exciting. And the transfer portal, I thought I liked. I thought I hated it. I thought it was against the spirit. But in basketball, it kind of makes a lot of sense to me. And basketball is a small. What's that?
You have these teams. What matters the most a lot in the tournament? Experience, especially at the guard position, and you can get that experience pretty quickly. Not having to go through the high school recruiting, you can get a couple of experienced players through the portal and really change the fortunes of your team pretty quickly.
And especially you don't have to worry. You don't have to go out and get that 5-star point guard that you're only going to get for 1 year because they're going to head to the NBA next year.
And look at Calipari, Kentucky. I mean, he had arguably the best talent every year, but come tournament time, they would face these experienced teams that have been playing a lot together for years, or a couple of guys from the portal that were able to, that had kind of seen it all compared to this young Wildcat team, and that was part of their downfall.
I agree with that 100%.
But I also think NIL is helping college basketball when you're talking about the portal. We're also seeing these players not leave after the first year because they know they can make pretty decent money playing college basketball. So we get to see them an extra year, an extra 2 years, which is always awesome. But
there's no pressure to like immediately go to the NBA draft and try to, sell out your prospects, or, the potential of maybe getting a 2-way contract in the NBA or going overseas just, so you can go and make money, which I know a couple of years back, there was a little bit of a trend on that where, some players were, okay, you know what? I'm done with the college game. I'm going to go play in Europe for a while and start getting my bread. And then hopefully that maybe an NBA scout will look at him and go, okay, maybe there's a little bit of improvement there. Maybe sign him to a 2-way deal. There's no pressure in that anymore.
Nope.
Absolutely. You can improve as a player staying in college, especially under the right coach, right? And you can improve your draft stock by your performance, because there are huge matchups in the regular season. As we've seen, the SEC tournaments was big, the conference tournaments in general, the Big East tournament. There's huge amounts of enthusiasm for it. And then we're going to go in the NCAA tournament, the biggest sporting event on TV. I mean, it's huge, and people are going to be ate up with office pools, on and on and on. And so there's plenty of excitement, plenty of ways to get your name out there so you can go to the NBA and do what you want to do. So I like it. I actually like it for college basketball. I actually like the NIL, the transfer portal, the intrigue, the hot stove talk that goes on in the off season, because a lot of people, college football is massive, but college basketball has a chance to grow because the SEC is good, right? Traditionally, the regions of the country that watched college basketball was the Northeast. Then you had the Mid-Atlantic, and even in the West around California, but they lost a lot of interest now over the years. Now you're expanding it all throughout the South and the Midwest. The Big 12's been successful in getting, I think, the right programs in their conference and covering the right footprint as well. So now there's college basketball can really grow, and then the victim will be the NBA, because the NBA's play has been lackluster and it's not as exciting. So this is the time for college basketball to grow and prosper, guys.
I'm getting water runs in the NBA. I mean, it's painful.
Yeah,
Luka Doncic needs to start running the treadmill a little bit more.
I will say quickly, guys. Right now, it looks like North Carolina is trying to prove the detractors wrong. 32 left to go in the first half. It's North Carolina 37, San Diego State 19. So
I could see North Carolina, like, if you look at their position on the bracket, they have the potential to make a decent run.
They have. Would they have Iowa State if they win? Is that right?
Yeah, and like Iowa State,
I mean,
it may not be 100%.
But that's still. I mean, it's not easy.
Not easy, but it's not impossible.
It's doable.
No, it's not impossible, because they put that Carolina jersey on, and there's a little bit of the whole Yankees mentality with that shit. So.
They transform into the Monstars from Space Jam. That's what they do.
If they win tonight, they'll play Ole Miss next, and then the winner of that game would face the winner of Iowa State and Lipscomb.
Now, guys, let's talk about some dark horses. There's always somebody that steps up that you don't expect, or makes a little run and gives a lot of people a lot of excitement. And I'm looking at all the brackets myself, and there's some pretty interesting teams here. And I'm thinking VCU has a chance to get some excitement. Do y'all have any dark horses?
I think VCU is definitely a team. I think that UC San Diego could be a team that could get hot. They've played some good basketball. They're that 5-12 matchup with Michigan in the first round. That's always an interesting one. And then they would face the winner of Texas A&M and Yale. I think that UC San Diego could be a team that could surprise some people. And Iowa State's a good team, but they've been up and down this year, and they've had some injuries. So that Lipscomb matchup is not easy. And I think if they beat Lipscomb, then they could possibly face Ole Miss, maybe North Carolina. But so I think that's a team that could, it'd be tricky, but I see a path for them to Sweet 16.
And shout out to Lipscomb head coach Lenny Acuff, former University of Alabama Huntsville Charger head coach that I covered for a couple of years in radio back when I was down in North Alabama. Cool to see him in the tournament. It was also kind of cool to see my hometown UNA Lions in that championship game. I was rooting for them to get their first tournament bid, but cool to see Lenny getting to the dance with Lipscomb here in Nashville.
I remember Lenny. I'm from Athens, Alabama, so I'm up from that.
I lived in Athens for quite a while, actually.
Okay, wonderful.
No, I got to ask you guys then, since y'all are familiar with Northern Alabama, have y'all ever waded any creeks for smallmouth up there?
I've waded some creeks in my time, but never tried to grab any fish out of them. But I've done a little fish by day a few years.
I've only stuck with the rod and reel. I've never done the noodling. I usually leave that to the poor guys.
Oh no, I'm talking about. So what you do is in the mountainous part of North Carolina, running in kind of a spine up through Kentucky into West Virginia, you wade creeks and for smallmouth because the way the creeks are in gorges, so it's all limestone, and you wade through there and you flip your Rapala or whatever bait you got, and you're standing in the water like you're fly fishing. But because you're a smallmouth fisherman and not a trout fisherman, you're smart enough to know that if you wear waders, right, that they'll fill with water and you'll die, right? So smallmouth fishermen don't wear waders. Right. So, but anyway, I just love Northern Alabama. It's one of the southernmost reach of the smallmouth bass, which I feel is the gamest fish that ever swim. And guys, we've had a great show tonight.
And I can throw this out real quick.
Okay.
Auburn is my dark horse. they're getting past Michigan, and they fall to Michigan State in the Sweet 16.
I've got Duke in Florida in the national championship. That would be a war.
You have Duke and who?
Florida. Duke and Florida.
Yeah, me too.
Now we may change our mind by next Tuesday because the beginning of
seriously, if you're listening to this, don't pay any fucking attention because the shit that happens in the first round is liable to change everybody's minds.
That's right. And our guru is going to come back from his military service commitment and join us for next Tuesday's episode. You guys are welcome to as well. Y'all know Sean Devine. And we're going to really break down the numbers of what happened in the first round and the second round too. And then we'll talk about the Sweet 16. And guys, y'all's been great. And Nikki and Ed, love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Jeremy. Everybody subscribe to Southern Sports Focus. Subscribe to Jason online on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and follow his dialogue and join our group so you can fuss about it, right? Make sure you subscribe.
Threads and TikTok. That's probably the best. That's where I put most of my stuff.
Oh, yeah. And I'm going to buy me a Smacking Off the Hoodie, and we're going to see. I'm going to spend the money tonight, and we're going to see if I can have it by next Tuesday night so I can have a Smacking Off the podcast.
So you can do the video?
So I can do the video.
Yeah, we're fixing to go. We're fixing to drop all these sponsors. They're just holding us back.
I'll buy one too, Dr. Balls, and hopefully we both can wear one.
There you go.
All right,
and I'm sure
next week we'll talk about all this shit. We'll
Let's
work it
go.
all out. The tariffs and everything.
All right. Thank you very much.
Later.